Each year, thousands come here to Syracuse University. Students, family, faculty, and staff coming from all different walks of life, from different countries and cultures. Most will only be here a few short years, but for all of our differences, realize a common thread binds our differences. All visitors here are inhabiting this land with a long history and a people indigenous to this land.
So I like to ask people to think about, where are your feet? Literally, where are your feet? Where are you standing? Whose people's lands are these? What is the history here? And how did you come to be on these lands? And what enables you to be here? What rights allow you to be here on this land? There may be treaty agreements that you're unaware of that allow for your presence to be right here, right now. So I invite you to explore, what does that mean? Because within this country, and the real history, is that you're either here because there was a treaty that allowed for that to happen, or the land was stolen. It's one or the other. And most Americans and Canadians don't seem to really understand that. They just think, oh, this is ours, this is our land, this is our country, right? Because that's what the law has told them. So when you begin to think about whose land you're standing upon, then ask yourself, well, where are those people today? And is their voice, their representation, is it present in the rooms where I work and operate every day? And so if those voices aren't present, well, then how do you bring those voices and perspectives and history into the way you operate on a day-to-day basis? Because that's how you begin to make things right.
Many people here on campus don't know what this flag represents. So many people that have no clue what that flag represents. Has no clue. Oh yeah, well that's the Indian flag. You know, that's about as big an answer as you get. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, well actually, this represents our capital in the center. These squares represent our land and our, our territories. There's the Onondaga in the center, Oneidas to the right, the Cayugas to the left, and you have the Mohawks to the right and the Senecas at the further end. The Mohawks are the keepers of the eastern door, and the Senecas are the keepers of the western door. And if you notice, the ends are open at both ends. And that means that we always welcome people into our territories. And part of my firm belief is that people that have come to Syracuse, it's not by accident. This is the birthplace of democracy. This is where peace was established through love and forgiveness. My role here as Haudenosaunee, one who helps them to bring about peace through healing. We do this through the messages of peace. This is where democracy was born. This is where peace was established among our nations. All people seeking peace need only trace the roots back to its source, the great tree of peace, where we have buried our weapons of war.
Onondaga means people of the rolling hills. That is what we call ourselves. And if you drive down 81, you can see the rolling hills as they undulate all the way from Watertown all the way through Binghamton and into Pennsylvania. And that is our traditional homelands, as the Onondaga. And we believe that as Indigenous people, that we are the stewards of that land by which we are called. So it is our duty and our jobs to look after that space so that when our children walk among that space, that they can enjoy the land the same way that we got to enjoy it and the same way that our ancestors got to enjoy it before us. And that is how we define stewardship. And so the Onondaga Nation is a member of the bigger family, right? We're called the family. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy is a unified group of nations that's been in existence for over 1,000 years. But the fact that it happened during a solar eclipse and passed over the Rochester area helps to solidify an actual date of the Confederacy. Now that's just a confederacy. You know, when we talk about culture, language, story, ceremony, the sport of lacrosse, those all predate the Confederacy, right? But often they get all labeled with the same date.
The short version of that is that we were warring nations at that time. And a peacemaker came to us with a message of peace that united us and brought us under the form of government that exists today. And he had helpers, a woman named Jigonsase and another man, Hiawatha, and some call him Hiawatha. And they really helped to bring our nations together under this form of democracy and peace and love. And we've existed now as this confederacy for over 1,000 years. We're the oldest continuous living democracy anywhere on the world. That's pretty powerful. As the Haudenosaunee, as the indigenous peoples of these lands, we have watched as these countries have formed around us, the United States, Canada, throughout the Americas. And now we see a country that is grappling with its conscience, with its own identity, and asking the question, who am I? Who are we? How did we get here? What's the history? Because most people don't know. They don't know the history. And then once you learn it, it's shocking. Then what do you do with that? And indigenous people have literally been saying, here's the history. Okay, here's how you can make it right. Here's some things for you to consider, right? Here's how you can, think about yourself in the world and, connect back to your roots where you are. Doesn't mean go home. Nowhere in any of that are we saying go home. I think there's this understanding. We're all here. And I really, really believe in my heart that we are at that time where we have to all figure it out. Because as humanity, right now, we all have to figure it out if we're going to exist, if we're going to survive. So I think what's happening right now is a very beautiful thing, that we're starting to have a better understanding and perspective that we all have with these histories, collective histories. But then where do we go from here? Because ultimately, it's only our actions collectively around the world that's going to make any difference. As you uncover this history, you are being invited into a space of peace and forgiveness and greater understanding, and learning how to work together for our future and the future generations. You can actively be a part of that process.